Hello, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well today. I wanted to make a video about an article that has come out in the Boston Globe that affects um, healthcare workers and talking about the new administration's planned immigration reforms or threats, depending on how you view it. Obviously, this is kind of a third rail subject, so I'm going to try to stay as neutral as possible. But I thought it was important to talk about it because it does affect or could affect many businesses in Massachusetts. And this article is focusing on healthcare companies. And we were fortunate enough, by we, I mean home care providers, home health providers, to be represented by Jake Krilovich, who is the executive director of the Home Care Alliance of Massachusetts. And he is our advocate for, he and his team are our advocate for many of the policies that are being debated and could become law and allowing us to have a voice in a lot of these discussions. So I thought I would get into this and kind of give you my thoughts on it. So Donald Trump's planned immigration purge threatens mass health systems. And this article is talking about specifically talking about a woman who lived in Haiti and does not want to go back, and basically a lot of the concerns that immigrants do have that are here on asylum, that are working in the healthcare field, and will they be told that they need to go back to their home country? And they're very understandably, because a lot of the situations in their home country are not ideal. They're not the best places to raise their kids, to live. There's gangs, there's violence, there's corruption, and that is a big concern. So it talks about this woman, Erna, who's a trained nursing assistant, and the majority of this article is talking about nursing homes, which would be certainly affected. And so such fears and anxieties are coursing through healthcare facilities, especially in places where low paid immigrants provide a large share of care for elderly and frail residents, including bathing, feeding, and keeping them company. And that's absolutely true. When I go into assisted livings, into nursing homes, even into hospitals, my employees at Minute Women are all immigrants of some kind. Most of our employees seem to be that we're hiring seem to be more from Africa, where it's Uganda and Kenya, but there's certainly Haitian caregivers as well, and I'm sure they're all watching the news and trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Um, in Massachusetts, nursing homes alone, 40% of frontline staff are immigrants, many from Haiti. They include nursing assistants, licensed nurses, and those working in housekeeping and dining services. And so the concern that they have is Trump's executive orders, which seek sweeping changes in America's immigration system, have sent chills through the workforce as everyone from policy experts to nursing aides strive to understand the impact of these directives. Among the concerns is Trump's ordered review of the temporary protected status program, which is asylum, which grants temporary work permits and protection from deportation to migrants, including Erna, who is the person we were talking about, and they interviewed from specific countries like Haiti experiencing armed conflicts and environmental disasters. And this is where it gets kind of rubber meets the road. An estimated 35,320 immigrants in Massachusetts are here under the temporary protected status, and the nursing home industry believes about 5,000 of them are employed in nursing homes. That's causing some uneasiness. That equates to essentially 15% of people that are working in nursing homes are under this temporary protected status. And so, if that were to change and they were no longer allowed to be in the United States, that would certainly be detrimental to nursing homes, and it would cause there to be a giant gap in the amount of services these nursing homes can provide, and they wouldn't have enough workers, which certainly would be a problem. And that would cause all healthcare companies to have issues, because then it would be exasperating an already big problem, which is the lack of supply, the lack of labor available when it comes to caregivers. And so caregivers are typically referred to as PCAs, personal care assistants. That can be CNAs, that can be home health aides. They might have some different designations, but PCAs are kind of a catch-all term for your frontline workers who are providing the hands-on care for seniors. And this is what's concerning a lot of folks. And so as we go back to the article, the elimination or even the threat to repeal the work authorization status, or TPS, will be devastating impact to our ability to meet the care needs of more than 100,000 residents and families who depend on our service, said Tara, the president of the Massachusetts Senior Care Trade Organization for nursing homes, which sounds pretty accurate to me, right? Um, Things have bounced back from what I've seen, things have bounced back in assisted living in the home care world when it comes to employees pre-COVID compared to today. I don't think that bounce back has happened in nursing homes. And part of that reason is working in nursing homes is really tough and hard work. When you compare that to what we do, which is one-on-one care, somebody like a senior may be inactive for a good part of the day. So there might be some kind of sitting down and waiting to be needed. And if you're working in a nursing home, you're likely caring for 20 or 25, 30 different people over the course of the day. Maybe it's even more than that. And there's a lot more work. You're on you're standing up more often. You're helping transfer people more often. It's more wear and tear on your body, on your back specifically. And it takes a level of energy that some caregivers say, hey, listen, I'd rather work one-on-one private home care. Now, the downside of one-on-one private home care, without going down a rabbit hole, is cases come, cases go. While in a nursing home, you're much more likely to have consistent hours. So there's pros and cons to both of them. But I've seen some graphs recently that the amount of the industry that's been really affected by COVID and has had sustained negative effects has been the nursing home industry, where they haven't been able to bounce back with the amount of employees that they have that are doing the hands-on care. And so what I wanted to talk about as well is this quote: the Commonwealth's skilled nursing facilities are already denying new admissions due to critical workforce challenges, with 1 in 7 positions vacant. Repeal of the work authorization and TPS status for the individuals working in our setting would have a cascading effect, exacerbate our labor crisis, and put at risk our most vulnerable older adults. And so that is basically what or what the concern is. While nothing has actually changed yet, it's the worry that things will be changing. And it goes on to say from this gentleman Adam from the Massachusetts Health and Hospital Association, job vacancies within these settings are a major driver behind the hospital capacity challenges being seen today. Upwards of 2,000 patients are stuck in Massachusetts hospitals because, to no fault of their own, they cannot access the next level of care they need. They're basically saying, because there's not enough workers in nursing homes and rehab facilities, we have patients that are stuck in hospitals that we have nowhere to send. And he is blaming a big part of that on the labor force and the lack of the labor force. And so, don't get me wrong, the labor force has always been a big issue. Even 15 years ago when I joined this industry, from the reports that I had seen in the healthcare world, typically at the top, often number 1 and 2 were the most needed jobs, are nurses and PCAs. If they weren't 1 and 2, they were very close to being in the top 5, we'll say. So there's always been a labor shortage, and COVID exacerbated that. And now we have immigration reform that could make that even worse. And so what this article is talking about is just the concern of the what could happen. And so to give a shout out to Jake near the end of the article, as he explained that our workforce, goes in alone. It's an isolating job, and workplace safety is a concern, which is absolutely true. That's one of the downsides. You're going into a home that you may not know very well, and you don't know the people very well, and you're you're by yourself, and so you're not in a safer space like a facility or an assisted living community where there's multiple people working. And he represents about 100,000 caregivers. And so there's just that concern that, hey, listen, this is already a struggle. Leaders in home health care are also uneasy about the immigration cuts and their potential impact and retaining workers. They struggle with similarly acute staffing shortages with an additional hurdle thrown in, said Jake Krilovich, the executive director of the Home Care Alliance of Massachusetts. So, this article is just saying, hey, listen, there's a bit of a bellwether. People are concerned, which is understandable. When you have a change in administration and you go from one administration that has been rather lax on immigration, and they tried to do some things with it. I'm not getting into who's to blame, but we obviously have what is going on in the last 4 years, what versus what this administration is planning for the next 4 years. And I think the concern with folks is that there are going to be a lot of good people that are caught up in this mess when typically the people I talk to, nobody's really fighting to keep violent criminals in the country as long as they possibly can. I don't think anybody's dying on that hill right now, right? If you're a violent criminal, you've been arrested numerous times, and you're overall bringing your neighborhood and community down, and you're causing chaos, there's not a whole lot of empathy for those individuals. Where that empathy is coming is the individuals who are fleeing a country that was in its own chaos, there was its own corruption, their own violence, and trying to do better for their family, for themselves, and for future generations, and chasing the American dream, which is essentially what almost every American's background is. Somebody somewhere uh, with our with where we came to this country in search of a better life, right? And those are what these individuals, and the majority of these individuals who are trying to come to this country, whether by the proper means or by the not proper means, that's their goal, to be in a safe place where they can have a family or bring their family, where there aren't gangs and there isn't violence, and they have the opportunity to have multiple generations here that will be able to thrive and be able to have a great life. Where I thought this article had some interesting data was with this graph right here, and it's comparing Massachusetts versus the United States of the share of workforce that's foreign born when it comes to healthcare. So we certainly do have certainly a little bit more of our workforce is foreign born in the Massachusetts area, and then home health aides, which is kind of another term for PCAs, personal care attendants. Quite a bit more than most of the compared to the rest of the United States, where we have 38.2% versus 27.7% who are foreign born. So we rely heavily on immigrants to provide our hands-on care to our seniors. It's a little bit even when it comes to nurses. I think the silver lining, if you will, in this article is that our share of the workforce is of undocumented is lower than the rest of the country at 2.5% versus 4.5%. But this is an article just kind of saying, hey, listen, this could be problematic moving forward, which it could be. I guess my view on it is, let's wait and see. We'll see what happens with this. Obviously, in Boston, it has been very well publicized that there's been fights between ICE and the governor and the mayor of Boston, and there have been ICE raids, and people have been getting detained and arrested, and obviously that's been all over the news. So I am sure there is a good portion of folks that are worried they're going to get caught up in this, even though they've done nothing wrong in the sense of they haven't broken any laws other than coming to this country undocumented or being an illegal alien. They haven't committed further crimes, if you will. And certainly, we don't want to see that happen. We want great folks that are working hard to be able to stay here, but it is a bit of a wait and see. And I will just kind of put it this way: is that the industry about 6 months ago was very concerned about this 80-20 rule, and as of yet, that hasn't really come to pass, right? Where the people were concerned about some regulations that were that were coming down the pike, of that 80% of of what you're being reimbursed is going to have to go to your direct care workers, right? Your PCAs, and 20% can be used for administrative costs. And there was a lot of back and forth on whether that's unrealistic or it is realistic or how it should go. And it seems for the time being, cooler heads have prevailed on that specific subject. And we'll see if cooler heads prevail on this specific subject. I look at it this way, is that with everything in politics, it's about staying in power, right? And getting to the next term. Obviously, Trump doesn't have a next term, but certainly he has people in line like J.D. Vance or maybe his sons or whoever it is in the Republican Party that want to extend that term and be the next president. And a big voting block is seniors, right? So there's a reason why Social Security hasn't been touched in many, many years. When people have talked about that, then all of a sudden the knives come out because it's a big voting block that votes very consistently and very often. So we'll see if this ends up happening and this ends up being a problem. As of right now, I haven't seen it be a problem. I haven't heard from our caregivers that they're very worried about it, but the lawyers that I network with have said that the immigration department of their law firm or other side of their law form has been ringing off the hook. So I am sure there are a lot of people in Massachusetts and throughout the country that are concerned about this, whether they are trying to cross their T's and dot their I's and make sure all their paperwork's good, or whether that they're here undocumented and they need to figure out what their next move is. I'm sure there's a lot of both that are being calling up immigration lawyers right now. But this was just an interesting article that directly touched our industry, and I thought it was worthwhile bringing up, and love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.